I'm Chad Douglas, continuing our Connect to Congress initiative with Illinois Congressman Darin LaHood. Congressman, what are your priorities moving forward after the congressional August recess?
Well, after the August work period, back in D.C. this week and be here for the fall, obviously at the top of the list is USMCA, our new trade agreement with Mexico and Canada. We need to get this passed. Trade is so important to our district in central and west central Illinois. I'm fortunate enough to have one of the largest ag districts in the entire country. And you look at our two biggest trading partners, Canada and Mexico. About 40% of the products that we grow, produce, or manufacture in Illinois go to Canada or Mexico. 98% of the corn that Mexico imports comes from the United States, much of it from the Midwest. So this agreement is good for all sectors of our economy. It's good for workers, it's good for the automobile industry, it's good for agriculture, manufacturing, financial services, and we need to get it passed. The problem is that the Democrats in the House won't bring it to the floor. So I've stressed to Nancy Pelosi that we got to put politics aside and bring this agreement to the floor. And too many of my Democrat colleagues don't want to give the president a win. But again, this is a win for America. It's a win for our workers. It's a win for the long-term viability of this country, and we need to pass it.
The House of Representatives passed some gun legislation before the recess, and it doesn't look like the Republican-controlled Senate is going to do anything with it. What are your thoughts on the gun legislation?
Well, listen, I think we've had way too many gun tragedies in this country, whether you look at El Paso, you look at Dayton, you look at Odessa, you look at the city of Chicago. 2 weekends ago, they had 35 shootings and 7 deaths. And so gun violence, is a problem. What you do about it is something that I think we will look at. There's been proposals for red flag laws, proposals on background checks, proposals on raising the age. I know the president has expressed general support for some of those, but it's up to the legislature to do that. So I think all of those things are things that the Congress will look at to figure out how we address some of these issues. I think mental illness is a small part of this, but it's something, if you look at the pattern of these shooters, every single one of them has had some type of behavioral health issues or mental illness. So we got to figure out how you address that also.
Over the weekend, President Donald Trump called off secret peace talks with the Taliban on U.S. soil. What do you think of this, and do you think this issue is now off the table for good?
Well, I'm glad the president made the decision to not bring the Taliban to Camp David, particularly the week of 9/11. I don't think that would have been good optics to do that. Plus, I don't think these terrorists should step foot on our soil. Having said that, do I want to look for a resolution to resolve the longest war we've had in Afghanistan? If there's a way to do that. But I have real reservations and a real hesitancy with negotiating with the Taliban. These are people that cannot be trusted. They're blatant terrorists. They work with Al-Qaeda. They worked with Osama bin Laden, and they've given us no reason to trust them. So I worry about leaving Afghanistan and having it fall back into the control of the Taliban. That's not good for us long term. Remember, 9/11 was hatched, was orchestrated from Afghanistan through Osama bin Laden. We can't let that happen again.
Late last week, military funding was cut to build more of the border wall along the Mexican border. How much do you support that, and were there any projects cut in our area because of this?
There was not any projects cut out of my area. Obviously, the president has put a priority on securing our southern border, and I support him. You have to support the rule of law. Remember, in the month of May, we had 155,000 people that tried to cross our border, the southern border, illegally. That's the highest we've ever had. So that puts us on track to have well over 1 million people illegally try to get into our country. So we have to listen to our Border Patrol agents. We have to listen to the experts. We have to put barriers, fencing, where we can do a wall. We ought to do that along our southern border to, again, enforce the rule of law and stop the flow of migrants from coming in. So the president, in pursuit of that, he declared a national emergency, which I think was the right thing to do. And now he's working on diverting funds. I want to be careful that we don't divert funds that go to vital military assets. That's the first thing. Secondly, and make sure that things that we voted on that are earmarked for the military need to be spent there. But the military has a huge budget, and this takes priority because it is a national security issue to deal with.
Congressman Darin LaHood, we appreciate your time.